As William Morris suggested, the use of machinery itself does not limit artistry, but it is the worker's degree of control over the machinery that has the greatest impact on the final product. Automation is cheap. You can find clothing in any style just about anywhere at almost any price. To most people, common historical garment reproductions appear essentially the same, with few offering substance over aesthetics and familiarity. The paint-by-numbers process pays no attention to materials or the creation of those materials, or even the process of production used to transform those materials into garments. The Real McCoy's, on the other hand, works well outside the philosophies we associate with most of today's clothing manufacturing. Their production is much closer to the ideals of the arts and crafts movement than the postmodern processes that rely on standardized materials running through machinery at a high level of automation. For anyone unfamiliar, arts and crafts was a late 19th century design movement that emerged as a reaction against Industrial Revolution mass production. Kento Sugimoto runs all of the production for the brand and doesn't sit behind a laptop designing garments far removed from those hands that create the clothing. He works closely with the mills, tanneries, and sewing teams to understand every product made, which starts with the quality of its materials that demand proper tools for their construction and handling. The Real McCoy's tees, sweatshirts, and other knits are produced with the remaining vintage machines to match the original period manufacturing, where skilled craftsmen are required to operate and repair these rare knitters. The oldest machines at McCoy's date back to the turn of the 20th century, producing only 25 meters of fabric per day compared to modern machines turning out almost 1,000 meters a day. As automation increases, fabric ends up bearing more of the demands of cost effectiveness. Textiles are now expected to behave consistently and predictably across thousands of meters all the time. We've moved far away from clothes with substance and any kind of emotional connections toward ones that fall apart before they can reflect the life of the owner. But the Real McCoys never developed fabric simply to make it easier and faster to cut and sew garments. Their goal is to capture the true spirit of original designs, recreating the character of vintage clothing without compromising its quality. This requires using a combination of historical processes and judicious application of new technologies, a methodical and philosophical challenge that most brands choose to avoid altogether. And no small detail is overlooked. They used dead stock zippers until all of the complete zippers were consumed. Snaps and other small components are also custom made to match original designs. On top of all that, the horsehide used by the Real McCoys is tanned and finished at Shinki Hikaku, an award-winning tannery established in 1951 that works exclusively with horsehide. Their tanning methods emulate the differences between the manufacturer that made the originals, while the leather finishing is designed to patina in a way that matches vintage versions that reflect the limitations and history of the materials. Every hide is individually examined by the cutter because each jacket panel must be matched to an appropriate part of the hide. The outcome is a jacket that will last for decades, despite this kind of quality control not being the most efficient use of each hide. That being said, the Real McCoys use as many offcuts as possible in other products such as wallets and zipper pulls. Something else that's unique in a mass-produced world is that every McCoy's leather jacket is sewn from start to finish by one person rather than piece by piece, as is the norm in a garment factory. In fact, every garment produced by the Real McCoys is as painstakingly considered in materials and construction as are the leathers. The steady removal of substance and beauty from the everyday objects that surround us has been going on for the entirety of industrialized society. The Real McCoys have chosen, though, to put some of that substance back into the most intimate of everyday objects, the clothing that we wear. Without that consideration and respect for materials and craft, nothing can hold a meaningful place in our lives. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and consider heading over to the Unibrow to read the full second issue article by Standard & Strange's own Jeremy Smith, who will have another featured article in their third issue. The Unibrow was founded in 2025 by Evan Perico and Nissan Pereira as an internationally focused biannual print journal, digital news source, and audio platform dedicated to contemporary and historic arts and culture. Thanks to the Unibrow for collaborating with us on this video, and thanks to the Real McCoys for the work they do keeping tradition and craftsmanship alive.